How the Bey of Tunis lives. The palaces of the Bey are splendid and incongruous. The Rardo, an hour from the capital, is a fine sample of Moorish architecture and decoration, spoiled by Parisian upholstery and vulgar European carpets. Dar el Bey, his only town residence, is magnificent and neglected. His real abode is in the separate building, walled and standing in a garden near the Bardo. He goes to the Bardo once a week to sit in judgment of his subjects and receives the ambassadors and consuls of the great powers. And then there is a brief stir, and the court presents a stately picture. It is, however, only an external brilliancy, and it cannot deceive the visitor as to the misery reigning within the Moorish Empire. Mohammed S. Sadak Pasha Bey, an amiable enough prince by all accounts, fond of children but childless and very simple in his habits. He has only one wife, and though he pays her a formal visit of an hour duration at her castle every day, he rarely sees her, as the hour of his visit is generally one appointed for devotion, and on his arrival he goes to a small room in the palace to pray. He is supposed to know nothing of the management of his possessions. Before him all is desolate ruin. Whichever of his palaces he shall die in will be dismantled and left to decay, for a bey must not live in a palace in which a predecessor has died. None of them has had himself transported into the street on death approaching, and there are more than a dozen palaces in Tunis today which cannot be used by the beys. A melancholy example of this absurd custom is Mohammedia, once the magnificent residence of Ahmet Bey, who had it built 35 years ago at a cost of 10 million francs. This palace, with its secondary buildings and villas for ministers and dignitaries, was situated 2 miles out of town, in which Ahmed Bey died. The furniture was moved, the floors, glazed tiles, doors, and windows were broken out and dragged to another palace. The heavy marble columns, statues, the curbs of the wells, etc., remained behind with the walls, and he who passes those imposing ruins today might think thousands of years had passed over them. The hand of the Arab destroys thus in our day in the midst of peace, and his ancestors and the Vandals did centuries ago only in time of war. So much for Oriental culture. London Spectator. Magic in Morocco. Chicago News. Miss Mansoul Playdale writes of the curious charms used by the women of Morocco. Moorish women resort much to charms to gain lovers or to keep their affections when gained. There is one charm which is seldom known to fail. It consists of shredding a small piece of an undergarment which the man has worn, and after certain incantations have been said over it, of rolling the particles into the shape of a small ball. This is embedded in a larger ball of clay, and after being slightly damped, it is kept in a pot over the embers of live charcoal. I have been assured that as soon as the air penetrates the clay, the man, whoever he may be, will lay aside whatever work he is doing at the time and fly to the arms of the woman who invokes the charm. As long as the ball is kept warm, so long will the heat of love burn in the heart of the lover for the woman. I see Moorish mothers back there writing it down. Now, Noble Drali said, don't be doing that work. Love is love, brothers and sisters, but Islam. French treat new sultan as usurper. Must show he's chosen head of Moorish people. So that gives you the Sultan's position and who chooses it. Ambassador Camden comes back from interview with Chancellor von Bülow, satisfied with Germany's attitude. Paris, August 26th. Ain't that weird, brothers? France's attitude toward the brother of the Sultan of Morocco, who was recently proclaimed Sultan, is for the moment one of non-recognition of his authority, until some decisive event showing that he is actually the choice of the Moorish people as their ruler. France will regard him as a pretender and a revolutionist. France will continue to regard the terms of the Algiers Convention and will refrain from sending an expedition into the interior of Morocco for the purpose of conquest. Brothers and sisters. In the meanwhile, France does not know whether the new sultan is advancing towards the coast as the friend or the foe of the French government. The Echo de Paris today publishes a dispatch from Berlin declaring that the impression created there by the interview between M. Camden, the French ambassador, and Chancellor von Bülow, and that between King Edward and Premier at Marienbad is that the peace of Europe is solidly fixed. The Moors-Sheik, his dress and appearance sadly at variance with his rank. Clothes doesn't make the man, brothers and sisters. Close upon us is a long cavalcade of men on mules and on foot, some 30 or 40 in all. I know them from a distance, and already they have seen me and are leaving the track to speak a few words to me before they pass on to the town. The old Moor with long gray beard is a sheik of the mountains, and his authority extends over his tribe from Tangier almost to Kuta and Touton, 40 miles and more away and more. Yet his dresses no matter betokens his influence or rank, from the linen shirt and the brown hooded jihab that he wears are common to all. Perhaps his white turban is folded a little more neatly and is of greater dimension than those of the other elders of his bands. For the young men wear nothing on their closely shaven heads except bands of red or blue cloth or brown cords of camel's hair. He rides a pack saddle, as have his ancestors for generations upon generations, and over the neck of his sturdy little mule dangles his bare legs with their yellow heelless slippers hanging from his toes. In his pack, one obtains a glimpse of his carpet and bedding, and a belt stuffed full of cartridges, while another mule is laden with a couple of sheep, a present for the governor or bashaw who resides in Tangier. One and all bear European rifles, Winchesters and Remingtons, for the most part, and even the staid old sheik has his own across his knees, for the ways of the native authorities are treacherous, and more than one rumor has spoken of his profitable imprisonment, always taking a Moor, and always kidnapping and ransom, owing to his growing influence over the mountaineer tribes. But woe beside the men who should try to arrest the chief when his hand of trusty followers are by. Saturday Review. Moorish curiosity. Harouche of Algiers was famous among his subjects as the Red Beard. A Moor with red hair and beard was a great curiosity. I leave you in peace and love, brothers and sisters. Islam, divine honors to Prophet Noble Drew Ali and the Moorish divine and national movement of the world.